Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Business Coaching Secrets. It is your boy Road Dogg here with the man, the legend himself, Mr. Karl Bryan.
Yo-ho-ho, Road Dogg, what's happening there, bud?
Just another day in paradise, as they say. Yourself?
Cool, little bit the same. Had a buddy's funeral on the weekend, just quietly, and I don't think anybody goes to a funeral of a buddy who should still be with us and not get jogged a little bit. So I'm feeling a little bit philosophical here this morning, but also feeling a little bit motivated. I'm glad to be on this side of the ground. So that's what's
as they
happening
say, going to a funeral is one of the most selfish places, right? Because no one's actually, everyone's thinking about their own mortality at that stage of the game, and really helps put things in perspective, I guess.
That is it, brother. That is it, man. So tell me, you get some good questions flowing through this week or what?
Yeah, I got a few here. Let's pick one here. This one's pretty good. Okay, here's a good one. I read a lot of wealth strategies from you. Wondering if you feel it's a good idea to teach wealth strategies to my successful business coaching clients. Good idea, mud in the water, what, and if so, what would you teach them?
Okay.
So you kind of got like three questions.
Okay, I would consider this start with strategy versus go tactical here. And here's what you're going to find is that, with your business coaching clients, you want to get quick wins. Okay, so I'm going to assume that if this was my coaching client, I wouldn't be talking about wealth. I'd be educating them maybe, but wealth is not something that you're going to like. Wealth is a 10-year play, right? So I most definitely wouldn't be doing this early on, outside of some good tactics and whatnot and places that you're going to go. But you want to have short, easy wins early, build up the relationship, build up the trust, and then move into higher levels. So what I think strategy tactic, when I'm working with my client for the first 30, 60, maybe as long as 90 days, depending upon the situation, I'm highly tactical at the beginning. And then I move into strategy, which anybody worth their salt in business knows that strategy eats tactic for breakfast. But that's not the way I do it because I want to get short wins. I want to build up that trust. So I would consider that. That being said, absolutely, this is something I'd move towards, and high five if you're coaching somebody and you've got to the point where wealth is now things that you're starting to talk about and they're moving in that direction. High five big time, because clearly you're doing a great job. I wrote an email, article, blog post, whatever it was all of those things, but started as an email. It was super popular, and it was, I can't remember, but it was like, and this is a question, how does Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, Nicolas Cage, Billy Joel, and the list goes on, and almost every professional football player and basketball player, et cetera, how do they go broke? Like, how does somebody make 100, 200? Like, I've heard Floyd Mayweather is in trouble, right? Like, financially. Like, the money that this guy makes, like, it's insane. And the answer is two words: asset allocation. A lot of people talk about diversification and a few other its and bits. If you want to be a wealthy person, and this is whether you're a young guy, 30 years old, or you're 60, but it's going to work a hell of a lot better at 30 than it is at 60, most definitely. But asset allocation is how Nicolas Cage, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson would have never gone broke in 100 million years. And asset allocation, it's a little more complex than this, but I'll just give it to you in a nutshell. Go think 33, 33, 33. You're going to take 33% of everything that you earn, and this goes above and beyond. So let's say it costs you 10 grand a month to live, or 5 grand, whatever the number is, doesn't matter. Easy math, 10 grand. Every dollar above 10 grand a month does this. 33% goes into government bonds, like something that is 100% guaranteed, virtually no risk associated to it. You're going to make a very small return, like call it 2, 3, 5% would be high here. Think government bond. But you put 33% there, 33% into business and real estate. Okay, and then 33% you spend on going to Disneyland and doing fun stuff with your family and whatever you want to do. You want to go to Vegas? Take 33% and do it there. But asset allocation, the most important was the first one. Take 33% of every dollar you have and put it into something that's bulletproof for the future and don't touch it. That is a very, very, in fact, Tony Robbins, he has that book, Money Master the Game. That is the one thing everybody, all of them, there's a couple things that they all agreed on, like asymmetrical risk and a few other its and bits, but asset allocation is one that they all agreed on. So I'd be talking about that. Here's another one that I think would be important that I don't think people are thinking about, and I would encourage everybody to. Like when I retire, I don't, like, let's say I was going to be worth 10 million, 5 million, 50 million, 100 million. 1 million. Some people think that $1 million is like a lot of money and that's going to be a great number to retire on. I got bad news for you. In this day and age, inflation factor, etc., $1 million isn't going to get you very far unless you want to live frugally, like I'm talking frugally for a long time. But here's what I like. I want to retire with income. Like what happens if I live to be 120, right? So I'm going to own, as an example, I'm going to own X amount of real estate. Just simple. Let's just say we own 3 houses. Okay. And let's assume that once we go, capital gains, I own for 10 years, I own for 15. Let's say that I end up with, there's $1 million of capital gains there. And let's say 1.5 in total because I've paid it down over a period of time. So I retired, I've got $1.5 million there, right? Well, that number shouldn't excite you half as much as this one. When you rent out those 3 properties and you have, let's say, $4,000 a month in rental income, okay, maybe 2 each, $6,000 a month in rental income, that's income for the rest of your life. So the houses are great and the net worth is great, but it's the income that I want to know about. Again, I want to retire with income, not just net worth. And I don't think people are thinking about that. And I can't begin to tell you, in my world, like at the age of 90, I don't want to have to go get a job at McDonald's, right? At the age of 70, I don't want to have to retool. So that's what I'd be, so that actually, you know what? Here's another one that I think is really significantly more relevant. And here's a tactical one that every one of your clients can do immediately right here, right now. Okay. So you give me the average North American or anybody, right, in Western civilization, and they want to provide, like they want a return. I say, okay, give me $100,000. And if I get them an 8% return, look, I'm doing really well. Some are listening and think 8%, that sounds terrible. Some are listening and actually going 8%, damn, that's pretty high. Let me tell you, it is on the high side. If you think that 8% isn't a good return on $100,000 when it's invested, you probably don't understand investing very well. But here's how I could get you a 40% return. Here's how you can get a 40% return for your clients immediately. Okay, here it is. You got to turn them into professional shoppers. Okay, so you go, brand name drugs would be an example, right? Like you can go and buy, it's got Shoppers Drug Mart or whatever the brand name is, or you can get, like Tylenol or the flashy stuff, right? Well, it's the same damn drugs. It's like the tires. You got different labels on them, and they're all made in the same factory, right? So basically, when you shop, and let's say that you're a guy and you're, running the show and you're making all the money, and then wifey's got, you guys have 3 kids at home and she's looking after the house, turn her into a professional shopper. And the money that you can save at the grocery store, the money that you could save at the drugstore, the money that you could save traveling. Like if you guys go on a holiday, like instead of planning to go to, the greatest, like Disneyland as an example, if you book a ticket last minute, you will find that the last minute, like just book the time off and then go to the place where you get the best deal as opposed to the place that you really want to go. Which, and by the way, if you really want to go to Disneyland and that's the bucket list, you should absolutely do that. But in the interest of this tactical, at the end of the day, Disneyland versus somewhere else, you can have just as much fun in a place not as popular as Disneyland and save yourself an absolute bloody fortune, quite frankly, right? So, buying premium gas. Is that necessary? You know, a gym membership. Gym membership's a really good idea, but you know what? There's nothing, you can just go for a jog. You can use your own body weight with a chair and do push-ups and sit-ups and save yourself the gym membership and do really well. And by the way, I also believe in living a good life, so I don't want to make it out like, you suddenly shouldn't, everybody should live ultra frugally and not do anything and never go to Disneyland and not do bucket lists. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, and remember, we're here this is over a 30-year jaunt, but most definitely doing short-term with your coaching client, that can be a really, really profitable strategy. That forget 8% return, you can get a 40% return when you're intelligent about your spending. And then how do you get there? Nobody does this. It's up there again with returning the library book, but just get them to go through their credit card statements with a fine tooth and comb and find places where they can save a few bucks. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. I'm going to leave this with this one, Road Dog. So if you have a business and you have 25% margins, right, which a lot of your clients do, they're 20, 25. If we earn them $1, they make 25 cents, okay, on the buck. But if we save them $1, they keep 100% of the buck, right? They get 100 of 100 versus 25 of 100. Where's a better place to start? Well, if you go through their credit card statements and go through their expenses, if you're $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year, you can so easily find your coaching fees just by doing that and blow your mind. So I would, so that's what I'd say, Road Dog. That's yes, I would get into that. But I would do it in think tactic versus strategy. And I think I ended there with a really good strategy to kind of go through with your clients and find some magic. So
that's a brilliant.
That has helped for our coach.
Yeah, it's a brilliant strategy. Of course, like the reality is it's not sexy. You know what I mean? Like if they want, oh, I need that new marketing thing and this and that and whatever. So like, do you find like, is that the first place you go straight to the credit cards?
Well, no, because you just nailed it right again. There is a level of sexiness that's required to build this up. You know what I mean? So what are they thinking about? They're thinking Facebook ads, right? They're thinking about social media. They're thinking about how they're going to make Instagram work or TikTok, whatever the flavor of the month is. So I would be careful of that because believe me, there is an element of selling that is required here. But once you get in there, this is absolutely what I'd be doing. Yes.
Besides, you and I walking in, that's pretty sexy all on its own right there.
Yeah, well, more so you, Road Dog, now that you're running marathons, dude.
All right. Enough of that. All right. This is a great one. So my client is a restaurant. And I want to help them build a database. And again, I get this. Come from financial services. Fish bowls are too old school, obviously. Best way to build a database for a restaurant. This could be for anybody. If you can believe it, Karl, this was something that we did in financial services at dry cleaners. We would put fish bowls in at dry cleaners because, hey, successful business people get their suits done, and that's where you put your fish bowl and you put some sort of cheesy free offer. But when it comes to, let's use the restaurant example, do you have something else besides the old school fish bowl, or is maybe old school?
Did the question actually say fish bowl, or did you just say that?
No, it said fish bowl. Fish bowls are old school.
I love it. Okay, cool. Okay, yes, I do. Yeah, restaurant. By the way, restaurant's a good one because look, what are you looking for? You're looking to build up a database. Businesses with high, like what you just described, Road Dog, right? Like doing it at the dry cleaner. You're looking for high volume type locations if you're going to do that, right? But okay, they own a restaurant, real simple. Okay, question first is it a restaurant or is it a bar? And I think they said restaurant, right? So if it's a restaurant, probably a family environment, here's all you do. You put your staff in competition with one another, create an award, track it, make it public so all the staff know what's going on. And all you do, if it's a family restaurant, you do a twice a year, you give away a trip to Disney World, okay, or Disneyland, depending upon what side of the country you're on, east or west, right? And boom, you get them there. And you believe me, you will get names and email addresses. And now you're building up and by the way, and then if there's mom and dad, you say, well, look, if you both fill one out, you will get 2 tickets into the draw, right? So boom, they do that. And then, but if it's a bar, we can assume that this, now it's not families. And what do you think? It's guys like Road Dogg and I sitting there having a couple pops. It's Thursday night, talking business, doing what we do. So what you do is you make it Vegas or similar, by the way. If you're in Australia, make it Surfers Paradise, right? The Gold Coast. So anyways, but that's what you do. And so the X factor here, don't go in too deep into this one. There's 4 ways to motivate staff: rank, recognition, prizes, money. And those 4 are in order, by the way. But, basically this would be recognition and then prizes. So number 2 and 3, recognition would be them being the leader of the board. And then prizes is that they're going to Vegas. Hang on. Sorry. So that is for the customer, but then you also have an award for the staff member, by the way. That's the other. But rank, recognition, prizes, money, and kaboom. That's it. And then advertise the heck out of it. So your clients going to Disney World. Again, you want to promote the fact that the draw is coming up soon. You want to then promote the heck out of, here's the family that won, and get them to come in and get a professional photo done and put them up. Here's our family. Because you get a restaurant, people are coming in consistently, right? There's a family, they're on their way to Disneyland. Now, the family gets home from Disneyland. Guess what? You get their photos and put it up. So it creates a little bit of hype. So now when your waitress is ripping around, or the waiter's ripping around trying to get names and phone numbers and email addresses for the draw, there's a little bit of momentum there. But real simple. It's a great strategy. And then, of course, if you own the restaurant, no doubt, I want to make sure everybody's understanding, again, the higher level strategy of it. Well, if you were able to get phone numbers, and then you were able, say it's Sunday, and you've got Mickey Mouse coming in to, the restaurant, you text your entire database, hey guys, just wanted to let you know, Mickey's going to be here. If you want to bring the kids down, kids are eating for free today. Come down with a parent and, enjoy brunch between these hours, right? So you're building up your database and you can communicate with them. Or again, if you own the bar, hey guys, just a heads up, it's happy hour, starts in 30 minutes, and it's going until 4. So if you want to come down and have a beer, happy hour price is going. Boom. There's a live band on Friday. Text messages go out. Hope you're having a great weekend. Just wanted to let you know on Saturday, blah, 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 are coming down. Great live band. We've had them a number of times and always get rave reviews. Hope to see you Saturday. Boom. So that's it, man. But that's not much more difficult than that. It's so easy. It's like, why isn't everybody doing it? And it's just, do you want fries with that? Go to the local burger joint and see if they ask you, order a burger and a Coke, and see if they say, do you want fries or that? And if it's not McDonald's, I guarantee that they don't. And then go to the restaurant, and do they say an equivalent of, do you want me to supersize that for you? Right? Like, the equivalent of the meal, and they don't do it. So it's crazy. There you go,
Awesome.
Man.
Awesome. It's how some of the basics just, people just don't do them. I'll tell you, kind of a cool experience, because again, isn't it amazing, like how few sort of over the top customer services experiences that we actually get? Like, isn't it wild? So we bought some, T-Bones just down the hill, the steak and meat place or whatever. And so we bought a box of hamburgers from there. Horrible. Like, it was just, they're brutal. I couldn't, I don't know. Anyways, I thought they were gross. So I take the box back. We've taken 4 hamburgers out of this box. And we go down there. I'm like, look, these are pretty gross and I just don't like them. I guess these are all the non-GMO, grass-fed, whatever, right? So the guy's like, well, they actually, if you can believe it, they fly off the shelves. He goes, he can't stand them either, but they sell well. So you know what they did? They replaced them with another box of their premium brand burgers. They handmade 4 of the other ones for me, like really nice ones, and gave me my money back. Like, do you think I'm going to be telling everybody about that? Like, it's also in the screw ups, right? Or just getting honest feedback. Reward people for it.
100. Well, okay. So want me to tell you a funny one? What I have found with my most successful coaching clients, I often found that there was like an inflection point, and the inflection point was an uncomfortable conversation. Like, okay, and what do I mean by that? Like, at some stage, we've all experienced it where the client's just not doing anything, right? And we know how it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for you. And at some stage, and no doubt you guys have had this conversation where it's like, look, man, like either we're doing this or we're not, right? If we're not doing it, look, I've got about, I got a list of 15 clients that would love to have my coaching, but I only take on 12 clients at a time. I told you that when we signed on. If you don't want to do the work and you're not as committed to your business as I am to it, then look, let's not do this anymore, right? Well, people want what they can't have. People don't want to lose something, right? That is like very, very powerful, psychological hack right there, is that people don't want to lose something. So I have found that. So yeah, Road Dog, and I would imagine that T-Bones probably know that they have when they have a customer with a challenge, that is an opportunity to build an incredible relationship, which by fact, you're talking about it here. Obviously, they've managed to do that for you. Yeah, that's not a surprise. And I have found the exact same consistently with coaching for the real.
And it's on both sides of the spectrum. And so when you were talking about just why aren't people doing these things, it's just that easy. Just great customer service. Like if we can all honestly ask ourselves, when is the last time you can sit there and go like, wow. Like, Karl, when was the last time you received over the top, just amazing customer service?
Yeah, you know what? Like as you say, like I can't think of it. So there you go, man. It's
right.
Unfortunately, it is less common than it should be, man. Sad.
All right. So with that, actually, this ties in beautifully. What mistakes do you foresee businesses making over the next decade?
What mistakes do I see businesses making over the next decade? Ooh, okay. Good. Actually, I like this. This is strategic. This is a good question. Remember, a real mentor can tell you what not to do. Now, everybody can make a to-do list for you. Everybody's got an idea, right? You introduce me to a guy who's never started a business, who's broke, and he would look at my business and have incredibly great ideas. And he'd be convinced that they're amazing, and quite frankly, some of them could be amazing. But a real mentor can tell you what not to do. So I like the foundation of this question. But here it is, man. Backwards to go forwards is what I would answer. I think we live in an environment, kind of snowflake nation taking over a little bit, to do. Not to be overly harsh, and most certainly not going to get political here, but I can tell you that in the instant gratification world, again, you talk about having successes in business, you will see that your greatest successes happened when you took a step backwards. Like an example for us, so the software, right? Profit acceleration software 2.0, released a while ago. You could imagine like that was an undertaking on friggin' steroids. So they're like, I've only got 2 arms and 2 legs, 1 mouth, 2 ears, right? Like everybody else listening. So when we were building it, and it wasn't just me. I mean, it's the developers. It's all of us were working flat out. I mean, again, we were building it. We were getting together 3 times a day, 9, 12, and then at the end of the day, because we were coming up with stuff at 9, we all go to work, come back at noon, and then towards the end of the day, 3 or 4 o'clock, coming back, okay, boom, because we just had to stay on it. I mean, you didn't need to participate in that process to know that there were other areas of the business, like sales and that sort of stuff, that didn't get our attention. So we took a step backwards to take many forwards. I don't think most folks, either they're not in a situation where they can, which by the way is all psychological, but they feel that way, or they're just not willing to. So I see that kind of trend going forwards. Innovation. So I'd say that beware. You got to go backwards to go forwards, and you will see your biggest successes right after a backward step, as a rule. Innovation, absolutely. In fact, I was just reading. So just recently, Victoria's Secret just got sold. And not for, it's been struggling for many years on a downward spiral, big time. And then the question is like, why? And I can tell you that, and this could go sideways, but anyway, look, it's Victoria's Secret, right? Like, what guy doesn't like a woman in, some cool looking bras and whatever else, right? So, but what they didn't do, padded bras and push-up bras are not near, if you go up there and look, they're not nearly as popular now as they were back in the day. And what is crazy popular is like sports bra, and I think they're called bralettes, but like basically sports bra and variations of, let's say that. Well, go have a look at Victoria's Secret and tell me if they have anything like that. First of all, they should have been the market leaders. They should have been the ones to invent it, arguably. That could be debated as well, but And when the trend was on, they didn't jump on board and didn't do it. And actually, there's also a concentration risk with that company where I can't. Sharon Turley, I believe her name was, but she was the CEO for a long time, and Sharon Turney. But anyway, so she was the CEO for a long time, controlled a lot of the business. They let her go, and you talk about inflection points. Like when they let her go, everything went in a bad direction. And then debatable here, but what you could be calling that is concentration risk. That's really important. When I go into a coaching client, I'm going into a business. Okay, what I'm looking for is different. Do they have too much emphasis on one staff member? Do they have too much emphasis on one product? Do they have too much emphasis in one part of their business, right? Like, one client is like brutal, right? If you got a client and, 80% of their business comes from one client, this is very bad news. And that's a business that, like, the valuation, nobody's ever going to buy that business. And if you do, you buy it for a pittance of what it's worth. But debatable, but they had a bit of a concentration risk clearly with Sharon, where she was just, controlling too much. But the bottom line, business went, let's say it didn't go belly up, it's still, well and truly cruising along. But, revenues are down big time, and what it sold for is not a pittance of what it was once worth. So I'd say that another topic that I've actually been looking into this, like kind of understanding it at a, not a surface level, but a very deep level, but network effect. Some of you will be familiar with that term. Lots of you won't. And another call, Road Dog, I think we should talk about network effect and maybe go deeper, but I just want to give it in a nutshell because I do see challenges here, right? Like if you look at how would Amazon become Amazon, a number of different reasons why. One reason I call it a two-way channel, where the same place you go to sell your goods is the same place. Like if I want to become a seller and I want to sell my, my weights or my tennis balls or my books or whatever, I can go and build a store on Amazon. And because they have so much traffic, I can do really well. At the same time, if I want to buy a book, I want to buy some weights, I want to buy some coffee mugs, chairs, whatever, I can go to Amazon and buy it, right? They call it the everything store because they literally sell everything nowadays. Well, network effect is that the more people selling and the more products available, the more traffic, so therefore the more buyers. So you see the way you got this two-way channel, okay? So the more people that are buying, the more people are going to be selling, and the more people that are selling, and the more people are going to be buying. That's kind of like a network effect. So kind of picture a wheel that will go around. Jeff Bezos calls it a flywheel, right? So I want to say this differently. Network effect for a business coach. The challenge that you have as a business coach is that the more clients you take on, the less time you have to spend with them, right? Because you get busy. So therefore, the opposite network effect happens where you can't service your clients at a higher level, and then you're capped at, call it, 15 coaching clients that you're doing properly, right? That's why we help our successful coaches build a team of 10 coaches, right? Like once they get the success and they start running live events and they've got the coaching clients, immediately you've got to get coaches underneath you to get network effect, right? But you see how if you don't put coaches underneath you, no doubt you could see very easily we have a different situation than Amazon, where the busier we get, the worse the services for the coaching clients because we've only got so much time, right? So that is a challenge. That's also why we create like every one of our clients has their own membership site and their own videos, right? And then they've also got a coach's website where they can sell videos. Like if you want a video on how to do a joint venture, a video on how to effectively manage your time, there's videos there that you can buy for 10, 50, $100, whatever. But the bottom, so what am I getting at here? Something that I would encourage a coach to be thinking about. As the business grows, network effect would say that the experience becomes better for the end user. And again, think of Airbnb, same thing. So Road Dog, you put your room up there, and then I want to rent your room. We're both going to the same place. Well, the more rooms that are up there, and the more people going, therefore the more people that are going to be going there, and the more cities that we can go to, and the more small towns, and the more countries, the better the user experience. That's network effect in a nutshell. I think you'll find a lot of your coaching clients have got an anti-network effect happening, where the busier they get, the worse the user experience, and this is not a good thing. So And I would finish with, here's a pitfall. I just think, again, snowflake nation and instant gratification. Growth is what you say yes to. Success is what you say no to. I just say in my own world, I'm a professional at saying no. The number of times, literally this weekend, I've got a very high profile client. A guy, if you've been in the coaching space, you would have heard of this guy. He's big news, had his own, show in Las Vegas. I mean, he's a big news dude. And he's hitting me up with, partnership, this, that, and the other. He's a client of ours. But at the end of the day, I got to be very, very careful on that partnership, because if I'm saying yes to it, right, this is not necessarily an ideal scenario. So what I do, guys, is my baseline is no, end of story. What I do is business coaching. My goal, I've got 800 coaches around the world, 24 countries, 5,000 is the number that I'm going to. I guarantee that I will get there. I have said it publicly. I'm saying it right here, right now. That is what I'm totally fixated on. So if you ask me a question, my mind goes to, is it going to assist me? And by the way, network effect, right? Like the more coaches I have, the more expertise we bring in, the more products and whatnot that we can provide our coaches. There's a network effect big time. So I don't just want to get to 5,000 because I, want to make lots of money. Forget that, right? Well past that, this is about creating the best user experience possible for the coaches. And you can imagine the software. The more coaches we have using the software in more countries and more currencies, is the software going to get better or going to get worse, right? With the feedback and whatnot, it's painfully obvious what's going to happen. So saying no is pretty damn good idea. Saying no is a pretty good idea. So there you go. That's what I'd say, Road Dog.
Do you think saying, how am I going to word this? By people continuing, again, because I'm horrible at this, right? Like it's the pleaser in me. I hate saying no, blah blah blah. But do you attribute that as well as maybe perhaps a lack of complete clarity of the vision of what you're trying to build?
Zillion percent. Okay, actually, yes. But I think there's something even more important than that. If you're looking at a map, okay, like say I went skiing a couple weeks ago, right, with my daughter. You get up to the top of the hill, not 100% familiar with all the different runs, and of course I got to keep my daughter safe. Well, the most important part of the map is the red arrow that says you are here. So I think that people are completely, I just don't think we have a grasp on where we're at. And then that's, if there's no starting line, like if you and I are going to race, Road Dog, like a swimming race, there has to be a starting line or there is no race. Conversation over. So you got to create a starting line. So I would say that's, even a bigger problem than what you describe. And then secondarily, totally agree with you. Huge problem is non-total focus on exactly what it is that you want. Yes.
Awesome. You mentioned Victoria's Secret. I wasn't sure where that was going to go. So way to go. Virtual high five for staying on point. But I wanted to pull up real quick. And again, this is from your other man crush, much larger, much bigger teeth, Tony Robbins. And I just happen to have in front of me here, this is from Tony Robbins' Business Mastery, the 7 triggers of crisis. So you were talking about a business going sideways. If you don't mind, I'm going to share this real quick.
Yeah.
So the company and the product. So you always have to anticipate crisis, and change will be a gift. Your ultimate competitive advantage is anticipation. So here are 7 areas that a business, even yourself as a coach, need to be asking. Is there a change in technology, a change in culture, a change in the economy, a change in customers' lives, a change in your employees' lives, a change in your life stage, or a change in competition? What do you think of those?
In fact, just do me a favor. I want you to rattle them off, just 1 through 7, boom, so everybody gets it, because I think beautiful. Let me hear them.
Okay, so technology, culture, economy, customer lives, employees' lives, your life stage, and competition. You want to maybe just hone in on life stage, maybe on how that maybe would affect somebody on maybe, let's say, a coach's perspective or business owner's perspective? Because I think that one's
life
probably
stage. Yes, I'll give you. In fact, I think we've shared this at different times, but here it is. You've got a chiropractor. They will build a business. They start at the age of 30. They hit 35, they're killing it. 40, they're killing it. 45, damn, my kids are growing up and I'm missing it, man. What the heck's going on? I'm going to go back to 3 days a week. Turn 50, you're at 3 days a week, slowing down, lots of golf, lots of time with the kids. They're going off to university soon. You hit 50, like, you know what? Damn, man, I don't want to work forever. A bit bored of this. I think I'm going to sell this thing. And then what happens is the business, the chiropractor sells his practice at 50, 55, but it's operating with like 3 days a week. Like you're selling like Victoria's Secret just sold. Like if they would have sold in the heyday, what would they have got? And now they're selling when it's down, which is what people tend to do, right? You buy up and sell down, like avoid that like the plague, folks, but it's so consistent, it makes you throw up in your mouth. But that's what happens with the chiropractor. So solution, what's the anecdote? What's the solution to this is, okay, 35, let's say is 35 to 40 is the big years, right? Well, I'm 35, I'm 40. Once I hit 45, 40 to 45, I got to bring in the 35-year-old. I got to bring in me 10 years ago and then get this guy fired up. And then you own 100% of your company. You don't need to own 100% of your company. Put together certain milestones, and then once Buddy hits X, like let's say once he has brought in the company $500,000, ping, he gets 5 to 10% of the business for no cash down, boom. Or again, say you put down 200 grand, and here's the percentage of the company that you are going to own, right? So now he goes, and then maybe bring in one more. So now this guy owns 10%, somebody else owns 10%. You see what rank recognition prizes money? That's what I've always said. Like when you turn somebody into a business owner, you don't need to build them. You don't need to create them a set of keys. You put a helmet on their head because they'll open the door with their head, right? Like because they're that enthusiastic. All of a sudden, they're a business owner. You change their life forever. And do you think somebody who owns 10% of the company is a little bit more locked in? And the answer is yes. So now you build it up. And then when you understand selling businesses, you sell your business to your number one. You always start with two people, your number one client and your number one staff member. Okay, and then you just go to number 2, number 3, number 4 client, number 2, number 3, number 4 staff member. One of them will buy. That's pretty much the way it will work. Most people, and again, you can go to the public, but you'll normally find that. But what happens, so the guy that owns 10% that you brought in 10 years ago ends up being the guy writing the check for 7 figures to buy the other 90% or 80% from you. So yeah, that's an example of, the stage of life that you're at. And then you get lazy, right? That's in a good scenario with the chiropractor that I described. Sometimes they just get over it. Now they take their foot off the gas. Maybe there's a divorce, and now he's hitting on, like I've seen this, right, firsthand, unfortunately. Now he's hitting on the secretary at the front, and then we know how that potentially goes when he decides he doesn't like her anymore or she, whatever, right? And the whole thing goes up in flames. So that's an example of how the stage of life that you're at. And then it's the stage of life of the business as well. Like you've got maturation, but so does your business, and you got to keep your eye on the prize. And that means innovation, right? Again, like Victoria's Secret took their eye off the prize, stopped innovating. They're still trying to sell push-up bras, and the market for an extended period of time have said that this isn't what we want. And that doesn't mean that you shut down Victoria's Secret and turn it into a sports bra company. But when you sell bras for a living, this is something you need to be up on. And you got to create a very innovative, cool version of the sports bra, and they'd be cranking and selling, millions of them.
But again, Karl, that's a change of culture, and that is a change in just their customer lives, right? Like those two things shifted,
yeah.
and they weren't paying attention. So I think it's 100%. Staying on top of it. And just a quick aside, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, you were just in Vancouver, but apparently in Richmond, so for those of you not familiar with Vancouver, the Lower Mainland, all that stuff, so in Richmond, it's a very highly concentrated area of Chinese people all living in that community. And apparently the Chinese restaurants are suffering from about a 70% decline of patrons coming in. Guess why, Karl?
Why?
Coronavirus.
Oh, there you go.
Right? So sometimes crisis creates an opportunity. And by sometimes, I think you're probably about to jump in and say all the time, right? Crisis will always present an opportunity, right? So I just thought when I heard that, I was like, wow, because there have been some confirmed cases down there. So fair enough. And now it's the fear driving people to say, you know what, I'm going to take a pass. I don't want to go to that restaurant because they don't want to get sick. So there's an opportunity for either some of these Chinese restaurants to actually advertise and whatever, do what they need to do. Maybe they do home delivery as an example, something. Again, lots of opportunities. So any other closing comments, remarks, thoughts, opinions, anything else you care to share with us today?
Anything else? Yeah, I want to end with this. In fact, I sent this out in some emails not that long ago, but Peter Thiel, love the dude, first ever investor in Facebook, but his concept 0 to 1, which is basically what, Victoria's Secret, the sports bra, and not that, at some stage, and I don't want to say the sports bra was invented a short time ago because it was invented no doubt a long time ago, but it became super popular recently. But the 0 to 1, at the end of the day, somebody invented the sports bra and it didn't exist at another time. That's an example of 0 to 1. And very strategic with your clients. So this isn't the place that I start. Remember, I get tactical early, get some runs on the board, build up the trust, and then I get strategic. Always with one eye on strategy, by the way, but tactical to get those short-term wins. So I want to encourage you to be thinking about that, thinking 0 to 1, both for yourself and for your coaching clients. So there you go, Road Dog.
Awesome. Okay, well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another great episode of Broad Talk with Karl Bryan. Wait, that's not it. Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. I am impressed, though, with the knowledge of Bra, Victoria's Secret, and other insight. Your brain continues to amaze all of us with the knowledge and the just the broad knowledge base that you have built up in there. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in to another great episode. If you want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com. And of course, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share with existing coaches or someone that you think would make a great coach. Again, Tony Robbins fans or salespeople obviously are pretty much exactly like us, or anybody else that's sort of highly motivated. And of course, we'd appreciate if you'd rate this episode on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you're listening to this. Obviously, those reviews weigh, it's worth in gold. So please leave us a review if you like what you've heard.
Beauty. Well done, Road Dog. Thanks, bud. Appreciate you. And we'll speak to everybody on the next podcast.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Remember, progress equals happiness.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.